Hey guys, welcome to a new vlog. I appreciate you spending some time with me here today. And if you're new to my channel, I just want to say hello, I'm Emily. Thank you so much for giving my channel a chance. I am newer here on YouTube and definitely passionate about putting out relaxing, peaceful content that you can hopefully just chill out to whenever you like. So if that sounds appealing to you, I would love to have you here as part of our community. It would mean so much to me, so thank you in advance. I'm happy to report that we are slowly starting to come out on the other side of our heat wave here in the Midwest. It has now dropped to about 80 degrees, which for me is still a little bit hotter than what I prefer. I'm definitely more of a 70s sort of person, like mid 70s, no greater than high 70s. So it's still pretty hot here for me. And so far, I'm happy to say that seemingly all of my plants did come out on the other side of the heat wave okay. None have seemed to have died. They are looking a little bit worse for wear, a little bit wilted, dried out, and my dahlias are kind of sun bleached, but they made it, so that's the important thing. I was watering more than usual, and I'm looking forward to hopefully getting a little bit slightly cooler weather so that they can thrive again. On the subject of dahlias, I did stop at a garden shop this weekend, and they had a selection of different dahlias for sale, and I did pick up one that I will show you later in the video. I have not yet planted it out, and I haven't fully decided where I think I'm going to put it. I do have a standing garden bed here out on my deck, and I want to say the manufacturer is VegTrug. I'll put it in the description box if I'm able to find it. I did paint it a blue color a couple of years ago, which I'm hoping to update and go with something a little bit less loud, but I'm thinking of planting the dahlia in that trug because I have two other dahlias in a similar location on the deck and they're doing really well. Apparently that is an ideal location for them, so I think I'm going to take advantage of the soil that I have just sitting in that trug and plant the dahlia there. I'm hoping that this one thrives just as much as those two do because I love dahlias, and for some reason planting them directly into the soil here in the Midwest doesn't work very well. I've been having a bit of a hard time with that, and I've been having to spray neem oil on them weekly because they do develop like a powdery mildew type of substance on their leaves. If you guys have any tips for dahlia growing here in the Midwest, I would love to know them, or just any tips from your specific area, and maybe I can find a way to apply them to our climate and our soil conditions. We do, for reference, have pretty dense clay soil here. And so I think they don't like that because it holds a lot of moisture and water. And I think if the soil was a bit more sandy, they would enjoy that. So I like putting them more so in a dedicated pot or a bed where I really have a lot of control over the soil environment. I have talked about my continued struggle year after year this time of year with Japanese beetles, and they have come out full force now. But I will say I identified a grapevine that was growing that gets direct sun that they seem to really enjoy, and I pulled down the grapevine. The thing that I struggle with that is if I remove that food source, will they then just decide to go completely over to my roses and destroy them because now they're not distracted? Or is it better to just remove all of the food sources that you can for them? I'm just not sure. So if you guys know the answer to that, I would love to know. And I did pull that grapevine partially down off of the lilac bush that it was growing and trailing along. I haven't removed it completely because I really like the way that it looks. I think it's really whimsical and pretty. I love grapevines, but I did want to have better access to them to be able to remove them manually from the grapevine, because right now that is the method that works the best for me with controlling them. And having the grapevine up high over like the 12-foot lilac bush was just too high for me to get to. So I did pull that grapevine down to be a little bit more of my height so that I can pluck them off. I've been trying to keep up with that religiously for the past week or so. I go out usually between about 6 to 8 o'clock because that's when they're out and kind of sleepy, and I'll find them and I'll just slip them off the leaf into the container of soapy water, and hopefully, like I said, I think I'm seeing some progress with that, but the goal is just keep them away from my roses. They can have whatever they want, whatever else in the garden, as long as it's not one of my precious roses or flowers that I'm spending so much time and money trying to grow successfully. So that is the struggle. And if you guys also struggle with Japanese beetles, you'll know how persistent and how invasive and difficult and frustrating they are to deal with. Okay, so for today, I do want to go outside and of course do a little bit of exploring and wandering and see what different things that we can find to perhaps make a floral arrangement. And I do have a recipe queued up for us. And this recipe comes from Victoria Magazine, which I know I've talked about previously here on my channel before. It is one of my, honestly, I think it is my favorite subscription that I have. And the recipe that I chose isn't actually from a recent issue to my knowledge. I don't know which issue this was from, but I do believe it was a previous one at some point. I did find it on their website. And if you are interested in finding whimsical, creative recipes, I highly recommend checking out their website. I'll put it in the description down below for you guys if you're interested in checking it out. They have a whole backlog of different recipes that look amazing, and I will absolutely be trying more than just this one in the future going forward. But the one that we're going to do today, I think, is a rose cheesecake, and there's some rose petals in the cheesecake itself as well as used for garnish on top. And I don't have a ton of bloomed roses right now, but I did the other day from my Harlow car go and gather a couple that had bloomed, and they are sitting in the fridge right now waiting for us. And then we're gonna, of course, go outside, see if we can find any more. I really wanted to try that out, and I think it's gonna taste delicious and light. I love rose all around as a fragrance, as a flavor. It is stunning. One of the things that is growing abundantly right now in my garden is basil. And after the last video where I tried those basil lime caramels, if you guys haven't seen that, go check it out. They were phenomenal, and spoiler alert, I did purchase another bag and I'm really loving them. But I came across a recipe for basil simple syrup, which I thought would be a lot of fun. For some reason, I'm craving like a basil lemonade. I don't know if that's a weird flavor profile, but I just love lemonade so much. And actually, in a little bit, I will show you a brand of lemonade that I discovered recently at our local farm shop that I've been obsessed with. I think it's like island lemonade or something like that, but it's extremely good. And there's nothing better than a fresh lemonade in the summer. It's so good and just thirst quenching. I love sour flavors. So yeah, I'm excited to try out a basil lemonade, or I will also look for other recipes. If you guys have suggestions maybe for what I could use the basil simple syrup for, I would love to know. Okay, so I'm done blabbing. That was all I wanted to share with you guys today for this video. And as usual, I hope you are having a fantastic, amazing, phenomenal day and week. And again, thank you so much for your continued support. I really appreciate you. Okay, I apologize for the lawnmower sound in the background if you guys can hear that. I do have a neighbor that's out here mowing, but I've brought out a vase, and this is by, I think the brand is called Alexis Rainis or something to that degree. I will put it in the description box down below. The vase is made out of porcelain, and I just think it's so elegant and stunning. And then I also have my watering can to fill up our vase with some water once we've gathered our flowers. And just to show you guys, I also brought out one of my favorite scented pelargoniums, and I've got it in this antique English terracotta pot that I got while on vacation in England. And I have a little tag in the pot that says it's the apricot scented geranium. However, I don't know that to be 100% true. I might have gotten them swapped when I was potting them up, but isn't she so gorgeous? It's probably getting close to the time to upgrade her to a larger pot, but I just love these plants.
I learned my lesson from the last arrangement that we did on the last video where it was way too hot and they wilted. So I'm going to put them directly into the tiny watering can so they can start getting a drink. So here is that new dahlia plant that I mentioned. Isn't she gorgeous? This is the David Austin Windermere rose. I've got some alliums starting to bloom. Okay, so I've gathered all of the plants and the flowers that I wanted to find. Let's go ahead and get started with arranging. Okay, so our roses and dahlias have been placed, and now I'm going to add in the hydrangeas. for the finishing touch. And there's the completed arrangement.
All right, we've returned back inside after doing our flower arranging, and it's killer hot outside. Not as hot as it has been, like I said, but it's still in the 80s. And as I'm sure you can see from the slight wave to my hair, I was sweating up a storm. I actually had to come in to put some sunscreen on because I keep forgetting that I'm gonna burn. So now I'm gonna take you guys out to my greenhouse to gather some basil for the basil simple syrup recipe. So before we run outside and before I forget, there is something that I wanted to show you guys. So I think I've mentioned on my channel a couple different times that I am gluten-free. Long story short, I think I mentioned to you guys that I have something called mast cell activation syndrome, and wheat used to make me feel really sick, as well as just gluten in general. So I've actually eliminated that for a really long time. So as of recently, with my mast cell symptoms improving, I've decided that I want to try to reincorporate wheat and see if I still feel bad from it, because ideally, of course, it's not my goal or hope to be restricted forever. So the hope is that I get to successfully add it back in, and easing my way into that, I went ahead and bought a pastry from a local bakery, and I'm so excited about it. I saw this bakery on Instagram, and they have the most gorgeous desserts and great ingredients. They actually incorporate some of the local eggs from the farm shop that I mentioned that we go to every week. We went there yesterday, and my husband and I grabbed a couple of goodies. So I went with a cherry croissant, as well as I think it was some sort of crumpet. And then my husband got an almond croissant, as well as something else that I can't currently remember, but he said it was delicious. And I wanted to show you guys the cherry croissant because it looks delectable. Here's the cherry croissant. Doesn't it look like a work of art? It is so, so beautiful. So I could not be more excited to try it. And if it goes well, I'll give you guys an update on the next video on how I liked it, but I'm sure I'm gonna love it. If you guys have a favorite dessert or bakery order, I would love to know what you usually get.
Okay, we gave the basil plant a really nice trim, and we have plenty of basil to work with. I think we need a cup, so hopefully this is enough. I think it should be.
just taste tested a little bit of it and it is delicious. I definitely get that strong basil flavor, very earthy and vibrant and fresh. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have any suggestions for which recipes I could use this in aside from just making like a basil lemonade. Okay, quick break to chat with you guys about the lemonade that I mentioned earlier in our chat. So this is called Island Lemonade, and this is probably like the third or fourth bottle that I've purchased from our local farm shop. I've been on the hunt for it at other local stores, but I have not seen it. The only place I've seen it for sale aside from there is directly, I think, from their website, and they sell it in bulk. So this product is made from filtered water, organic lemon juice, and organic agave syrup. It is certified organic and the flavor is phenomenal. It is the perfect balance of tanginess and sweetness. It's not overly sour or overly sugary, which I really appreciate. It just has that really refreshing, wonderful lemon flavor that I love so much. And I'll read to you what it says on the back. Island Lemonade is made with tangy whole lemons and lightly sweetened with premium blue agave nectar. Established on a small farm in Hawaii and now produced in California, we're staying true to our roots by keeping our products organic, vegan, and free of any added colors, flavors, preservatives, or extracts. And their site is www.pacific96.com. And yeah, I just think this is a wonderful lemonade and I love it so much. Okay, so I'm gonna move on now to making the rose petal cheesecake. And as I mentioned earlier in our chat, I did find this recipe off of victoriamag.com. This is the website for the Victoria magazine that I love so much. And this recipe uses graham cracker crumbs. So we have 1 cup of graham cracker, 1/4 of a cup of rose petals, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1/4 cup of melted butter. And then for the filling, we want 4 8-ounce packages of cream cheese, 1 3/4 cups of sugar, 7 eggs, 3 8-ounce cartons of sour cream, 2 teaspoons of lemon zest, and then we want edible roses and rose petals to decorate with. And excuse the beat up old food processor that you see in front of you. This is certainly a bit of a relic, but it works great. We're going to use the food processor first for making the crust. So we're going to combine our graham crackers, the rose petals, and the sugar. And then once everything is ground up, we're going to add in the butter. Admittedly, I'm not sure how many graham crackers we actually need to get to a cup of crumbs. So I've just grabbed the individually packaged Nairns or Narns brand graham crackers. I'm not sure how to say that, and I'm going to food process them first and then fill them into a measuring cup to see how much we have. Okay, so I just went and poured them out into a measuring cup and I got a cup. It was a little bit more than a cup, so I went ahead and saved those for something else. Okay, so for the next ingredient, we have 1/4 cup of rose petals. I have just under that here, and I gathered these from my all-time favorite rose in our critter fence, and that is the David Austin Harlow Carr. They smell amazing. Okay, so off camera, I grabbed my springform pan and I greased it with some butter and then layered a little bit of flour in there to prevent the graham cracker crust from sticking. Now that we have our crust, we're gonna go ahead and bake this for 10 minutes in an oven set to 300 degrees. Okay, so while the crust is baking, we're going to move on to the filling. And for the filling, we want to combine the cream cheese and the sugar together. And then we're going to add the eggs one at a time, combining them. And then finally, we'll add in the sour cream and lemon zest.
gonna add in the sour cream. I just grabbed the crust that we prepared earlier and it is fully cooled down, and we're going to go ahead and pour in the filling. Ready to go in the oven. I still have my oven set to 300 degrees and we want to bake it for an hour and 25 minutes. Once the hour and 25 minutes has elapsed, we're going to turn off the oven and let it cool in the oven for about 4 hours. It's the next day and the cheesecake did cool in the oven for 4 hours, and then I did refrigerate it overnight, and as you can see, unfortunately it did still end up cracking down the center. I'm not sure why this happened. It looks like it shrunk a little bit, maybe the expanding and contracting, I'm not sure, but if anyone has any tips for how to prevent the cheesecake top from cracking or coming apart like this, please let me know. This is my first time ever making a cheesecake. I will say I'm pretty pleased with the result aside from that. A couple of other issues I noticed as well is that there is some browning around the edges. Additionally, I think I overfilled the cake tin because you can see there's sort of this ridging where it rose a little too much in the pan. But despite all of that, I think flavor-wise it's going to be excellent.